but we still have a lot of business to conduct this afternoon. So, Trustee Fagan, can you convene the Committee on Audit?
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Will the Committee on Audit please come to order? The first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 2016 meeting. Is there any objection to the approval of the minutes? Don't speak at once. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. There is one item on today's discussion agenda. Item 1 of the discussion agenda is an information item regarding the status report on current and follow-up internal audit assignments. The item will be presented by Larry Mandel, Vice Chancellor and Chief Audit Officer. Larry.
Thank you, Chair Fagan. Item 1 in your agenda includes both a status on the 2016 audit plan and follow-up on past assignments. In your packet is an updated attachment A for the status report that shows progress since the agenda mailout. Those numbers and letters in green reflect the updates from the mailout. The left-hand side of the first page indicates progress to date on the 2016 audit plan, which was approved at the January board meeting. Almost all of the 2016 assignments are currently in process. The remaining assignment, international activities, will be initiated next week. The right-hand side of the first page and all of the second page indicate progress made toward completion of recommendations. The campuses and Chancellor's office continue to do a good job completing recommendations on a timely basis. The third page gives a status report on our review of construction projects. Recommendations from past assignments have been completed and current reviews are being completed timely. If you have any questions on the status report, we'll take them at this time. Any questions? No questions? Chair, I turn it back to you.
Thank you, Larry, for your report. We don't have time today, and it's not on the agenda to talk about more about what the audit operation does for CSU, but I can tell you in my initial as the new chair of the audit committee that it's pretty impressive, and they're out there doing good things, making sure everything is running properly. And it's a pretty tough job when you realize there's like 27 people trying to oversee all this stuff for the number of people that equals the entire population of Portland, Oregon. So it's not an easy task. So next time we're going to maybe highlight a couple of the actual audits and get into more about a little summary from Larry about how they do it and what they do. One thing I wanted to tell all of you, all of us, as well as the public, the audits that Larry's operation do are public record. And so you can see them once they're finished on the CSU website, which is calstate.edu/audit. And that'll take you to the site, and you can look there about what's going on, what they found, and answer any questions. So I think, Chair Eisen, that concludes the business of the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Trustee Fagan. Trustee Stepanek, will you please convene the Committee on Campus Planning, Buildings, and Grounds?
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Will the Committee on Campus Planning, Building, and Grounds please come to order? I will note that no one has requested to address the committee during the public comment period today. So the first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 2016 meeting. Is there any objection to the approval of the minutes? Not hearing any, the minutes are hereby approved. The committee has one action item to consider today, an amendment to the 2016-2017 capital outlay program and schematic plans for California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo. This particular item will be presented by Steve Rallier, the Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Financial Officer, Jeff Armstrong, President of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and V. San Juan, the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Capital Planning, Design, and Construction. Steve, will you please start?
Thank you, Chair Stepanek. This action item proposes the approval of a new baseball clubhouse replacement building at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. The project cost of $6.4 million will be entirely donor funded. President Jeff Armstrong and Assistant Vice Chancellor Vi San Juan will describe the project. President Armstrong, would you like to begin?
Thank you, Steve. In the past 2 years, Cal Poly has brought forth projects that contribute to student success, such as Student Housing South Freshman Housing Complex and the Vista Grande Dining Replacement Building. Today, we seek the board's approval for the Baseball Clubhouse Replacement Building, a project that will benefit both student athletes and the Cal Poly community. Despite being a strong NCAA Division I program, the existing baseball clubhouse does not adequately accommodate the current and future needs of the baseball program. After several renovations throughout athletic facilities at Cal Poly, this will be our first new athletic facility in 10 years. In partnership with the lead donor, Dignity Health Central Coast, as well as other alumni and community members who have stepped up to make this vision a reality, the construction of this replacement baseball clubhouse will allow us to provide a top-quality clubhouse and state-of-the-art sports medicine facility for our baseball student athletes. Dedicated student space will provide opportunities for the academic, sports medicine, and nutritional support essential for continued success on and off the field. I'll turn to you now, Vi.
Thank you, President Armstrong. This is the part of the physical master plan for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. The slide shows on the left most of the campus developed acreage, with the box to the right providing a magnified view of Baggett Stadium. The small red area depicts the proposed baseball clubhouse replacement. Next slide. The project will demolish the existing 1,558 square foot baseball clubhouse and construct a new 9,700 square foot replacement building located along the third baseline of Baggett Stadium. Given the constrained site, a vertical expansion is the best alternative to provide the additional square footage without displacing the adjacent bullpen and batting cages. The replacement building showed on this slide will be a metal frame structure with an exterior skin featuring the use of cement panels, concrete blocks, aluminum, and shatterproof glass. Sustainable features of the project will include LED lighting, water-saving fixtures, high-efficiency ventilation system, and take advantage of the natural daylight in occupied areas. The project will seek a LEED Silver certification. The $6.4 million project will be funded from donations raised specifically to fund the construction of this project, and staff recommends approval. Mr. Tepanek, that concludes our presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Vi, Jeff, and Steve, for your presentation. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. The approval of the amendment of the 2016-2017 Capital Outlay Program and Schematic Plans for California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo is an action item before the Committee on Campus Planning, Building, and Grounds. Only committee members may vote on this particular time. May I have a motion?
Move it. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The approval of the amendment to the 2016-2017 Capital Outlay Program and Schematic Plans for California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo is approved. Chair Eisen, that concludes the business on the Committee on Campus Planning, Building, and Grounds.
Thank you, Trustee Stepanek. Trustee Simon, will you please convene the Committee on Institutional Advancement?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Eisen. Will the Committee on Institutional Advancement come to order? No one has requested to address the committee today during public comment. So the first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 16, 2016 meeting. Are there any objections to the approval of the minutes? Seeing none, hearing none, the minutes are approved. So before we move to the remaining business of the committee, I would like to acknowledge the incredible, absolutely incredible work of our campus advancement teams, and of course our amazing presidents. The California State University has been recognized for its outstanding advancement efforts at the international level. The Council for Advancement and Support of Education International recently announced its Circle of Excellence Awards and Educational Fundraising Awards, and the CSU took home 13 awards system-wide. Awardees were selected by Case International from over 3,000 submissions across the globe. The CSU class, 3 million celebration received high praise from its judges as an ambitious and extensive campaign with effective results. And 6 campuses received recognition for their professional achievements, and notably, San Luis Obispo, Long Beach, and San Diego were recognized for their fundraising performance. A full list of award recipients is in your materials. Congratulations, campuses. Returning to our agenda, there are 2 action items on today's discussion agenda. And item 1 is the action seeking committee approval for the SEFQ, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
This is a very important project. Stadium at the San Jose State University. The item will be presented by Vice Chancellor Garrett Ashley. Please begin, Garrett.
Thank you, Trustee Simon. This item will consider naming Spartan Stadium at San Jose State University as SEFQ Stadium, home of the Spartans, in connection with a sponsorship agreement. SEFQ, or Citizens Equity First Credit Union, will make annual payments to San Jose State over 15 years, totaling in excess of $8 million, less the cost of signage and potential unrelated business income tax liability. Some highlights of the sponsorship agreement include that SEFQ will be the exclusive ATM provider at the stadium, provide San Jose State student athletes with financial literacy awareness, and have certain rights to advertising in athletics newsletters and publications, and to seating and tickets at events. Funds from the agreement will be used to support and strengthen athletics operations, improve the stadium and other facilities, and allow for the full funding of scholarship commitments for student athletes. Additional terms of the sponsorship agreement can be found in the board item. I'd now like to turn this over to San Jose State University Provost Andy Feinstein to say a few words. Andy?
Well, thank you, Garrett, and thank you, Trustee Simon. As we all just heard, this partnership agreement between San Jose State and SEFQ promises to bring many benefits to our university, and most importantly, our students. 3 things particularly I'd like to highlight for you. First, our student athletes directly benefit. Partnership proceeds would fund stadium facility improvements and the total cost of attendance for athletic scholarships as mandated by the NCAA. The university has been helping defray this increased annual cost from operating funds. Second, relieving the university of these and other costs would enable those funds to be invested in other ways that benefit students. And third, this proposed agreement affirms the enormous potential for San Jose State to partner with other Silicon Valley entities that share our vision for serving students and the region. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, let's move on. Thank you so much. The naming of SEFQ Stadium, home of the Spartans at San Jose State University, is an action item before the Committee on Institutional Advancement. Only committee members may vote at this time. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? I'm sorry, was anyone? Okay. The naming of SEFQ Stadium, home of the Spartans, is approved. Congratulations. Item 2 is an action item seeking committee approval for the Jack H. Brown College of Business and Public Administration at California State University, San Bernardino. The item will once again be presented by Vice Chancellor Garrett Ashley. Garrett?
Thank you, Trustee Simon. The proposed naming recognizes the $10 million gift made by Jack H. Brown. The endowed funds from this gift will support academic enrichment and student scholarships in the College of Business and Public Administration, helping to attract and retain faculty facilitate student enrichment, and provide for new programs and supplement research. Mr. Brown has been a longtime supporter of Cal State San Bernardino. In 1992, he made a significant gift to the university to name the Business and Public Administration Building as Jack H. Brown Hall. I now turn this over to President Morales to say a few words.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Ashley. Having just completed our 50th year, the fact that this is the largest single cash donation in university history speaks to both the momentous nature of this generous gift and the effect it will have on our campus and our students. The most immediate benefit to our university is the continuing association with Jack Brown. His name is more than recognizable. It conveys success, dedication, and integrity, and is highly respected locally, regionally, and nationally. Some of the other benefits this gift provides include flexibility, allowing its resources to be used where they will have the most impact and do the most good for our students, faculty, staff, and the college. Enriching the college's curriculum, providing new platforms for research and encouraging the entrepreneurial spirit. Expansion of our outreach to the business community, increasing their involvement in existing programs, as well as innovative new centers and projects. It's important for me to recognize this extraordinary person whose generosity will positively impact CSUSB and our students for generations to come. Cal State San Bernardino is extremely fortunate to have Jack Brown as a friend and supporter, someone who for nearly 7 decades has championed efforts to elevate and strengthen the communities of the Inland Empire. A San Bernardino native, his hard work, business savvy, and teamwork led him to become chairman of the board and CEO of Stater Brothers Markets, the Inland Empire's only Fortune 500 company, which employs more than 18,000 throughout Southern California. Jack is a loyal and committed benefactor to his home community. Through the years, he has championed numerous causes, including education, children's welfare, hunger relief, and access to quality health care. A Navy veteran, Jack is unwavering in helping our nation's veterans, those who have devoted and sacrificed so much in service to their country. Through his company, he supports college scholarships for members of the Stater Brothers family. This year, 19 were awarded to employees or their dependent children, totaling more than $56,000. Of course, we are extremely proud of Jack's longtime involvement with CSUSB, which includes the creation of the Rose Brown Scholarships in honor of his mother, personal contributions that helped build Jack H. Brown Hall, loyal support of Coyote Athletics, commitment to his belief that the future of the Inland Empire depends on adding well-trained, caring graduates to the local workforce. It is truly a pleasure and an honor to stand here today and ask your approval for you to approve the action item before you in deserved recognition of all that Jack Brown has done for CSUSB, the Inland Empire, the state of California, and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, President Morales. Any questions or discussion on this matter before we go for a vote? The naming of the Jack H. Brown College of Business and Public Administration at California State University San Bernardino is an action item before the Committee on Institutional Advancement. Only committee members may vote at this time. May I have a motion to approve? Is that a motion over there? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. I have a discussion, please. Moving too quickly here.
Sorry to interrupt the business of your committee, but I did want to convey that Lou Monville, our former chair, communicated to me, and he is an alum of San Bernardino, that he has known Jack Brown for many years and is just effusive in his praise of what a terrific supporter he's been of the CSU and the San Bernardino campus in particular. And I just wanted to make sure that that was on our record before you finish your vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. So with that, with no other further discussion, thank you for that comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The naming of the Jack H. Brown College of Business and Public Administration, the California State University, San Bernardino, is approved. I do, before I hand this back over to you, Chair Eisen, I just want to make sure in the first vote that we document the first vote on our agenda, that we document this, who made the second on our committee, and that was for the naming of the CEF-Q Stadium. We can call the vote again if we need to. Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was on record. Chair Eisen, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Simon. Yeah, you did have quiet voters there. I was wondering myself if if I was hearing seconds and firsts. So thank you. Now, would Trustee Norton please convene the Committee on Governmental Relations?
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Will the Committee on Government Relations please come to order? I note that no one has requested to address the committee today during the public comment period. The first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 2016 meeting. Are there any objections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. There is one informational item on today's discussion agenda, and that is a legislative update for the 2016 legislative year. And Vice Chancellor Ashley, if you'd be good enough to introduce the item.
Thank you, Trustee Norton. Since the last board meeting in May, the legislative process continued in earnest. Bills that successfully passed out of their House of origin continued to the second House, where they had to be heard in policy committees and reported out by July 1. If a bill did not receive enough votes to pass out of its policy committee, then it is dead for the session. In addition, the legislature and governor came to a final budget agreement last month, as we also heard during the Finance Committee meeting earlier. The legislature is now in its summer recess. When it returns at the beginning of August, fiscal committees will complete their hearings and bills will be considered on each floor. I would like to note that on August 1, our new Assistant Vice Chancellor for Advocacy and State Relations, Kathleen Shavira, will join the CSU. As such, I would like to thank Nicole Munoz Murillo for taking on the role as Interim Director of Advocacy and State Relations and for her tremendous and outstanding service to the CSU. Nicole will now provide an update on key bills that would impact the CSU, as well as highlight our recent budget advocacy efforts in Sacramento. Nicole?
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Ashley. I would like to first provide a brief update on the two Board of Trustees sponsored bills. The first bill is Senate Bill 1412 by Senator Marty Block, which would provide the CSU with the potential to increase investment earnings on its funds by creating a more balanced portfolio. Since the last board report, SB 1412 passed the full Senate and Assembly Higher Education Committee. The bill will next be heard by the Assembly Appropriations Committee. The other sponsored bill is Assembly Bill 2215 by Assembly members Jose Medina and Catherine Baker. This bill would make a technical change to how the State Controller's Office distributes state lottery funds to the CSU. AB 2215 was approved by the Senate Governmental Organization Committee and will next be considered by the Senate Appropriations Committee. I would now like to touch on a few other bills that are important to the CSU. AB 2019 by Assemblymember Santiago and sponsored by the California Faculty Association would have provided CSU faculty with an annual automatic salary increase of either 2.65% or California's Consumer Price Index, depending on which is higher each year. CSU expressed concerns with the bill as it would have fundamentally changed the system's ability to balance our needs by prioritizing faculty salaries without regard to revenues. The bill was held in the Assembly Appropriations Committee and is no longer moving this session. The next bill is AB 2163 by Assembly Member Evan Lowe and sponsored by CFA. The bill would have prohibited the Board of Trustees from naming a campus president until after the final candidate visited the campus and held a public forum. We were concerned that the mandated change would have undermined our process and compromised the success that we've had in selecting campus presidents. When the bill was heard in the Senate Education Committee, some legislators expressed concerns with the bill, and the chair of the committee recommended that the vote on the bill be postponed to work out amendments. From these conversations, we obtained amendments that would instead require that after the Board of Trustees appoints an individual to a campus presidency, that person would be required to conduct an open forum on campus within 15 business days of their appointment. As a result, we have removed our opposition and have moved to a support position. Next, I want to provide an update on Senator Steve Glazer's bill that would establish the California Promise Program at the CSU, which essentially is a 4-year pledge program. You may remember that when Senator Glazer first introduced the bill, it would have required the CSU to establish the program at least one or more campus. The bill also contained a cohort-based tuition freeze for program recipients. You may also remember that the bill failed to advance out of the Senate Education Committee. However, Senator Glazer has now placed the concept into another bill, SB 412, with some notable changes, including a requirement that the CSU establish the California Promise Program at a minimum of 10 campuses. The new bill does not include a tuition freeze. Staff have expressed concerns to the author about the requirement to establish the program at 10 campuses. However, we have proposed amendments that would allow the CSU to support the bill, including reducing the number of campuses to 4 that the program would be required to be established. Additionally, we have proposed that a 2-year pledge program for associate degree for transfer students be established at 15 campuses by the start of the 2017-18 academic year and 20 campuses by the 2018-19 year. We are continuing to work with the senator on a compromise. I now want to discuss a few bills that, through recent amendments, we have moved to support. The first is AB 1747 by Assemblymember Shirley Weber. This bill aims to address food insecurity among college students in 3 ways. First, it would require public and private institutions located in counties participating in the Restaurant Meals Program to apply to become an approved food vendor or provide their contracted food vendors with information on the program. The Restaurant Meals Program allows recipients with CalFresh benefits to purchase cooked, prepared meals from participating restaurants and food vendors. Second, it would make public post-secondary education institutions eligible to partner with local government agencies to apply for federal matching funds to conduct CalFresh outreach activities. Third, it would establish a fund as appropriated by the legislature to support public higher education, campus-based pantry, and hunger relief efforts serving low-income students. The next bill is AB 2017 by Assemblymember Kevin McCarty. This bill would allocate grants to California colleges and universities to improve access to mental health services and early identification and intervention programs. We have worked in close collaboration with the author on several amendments, including ensuring that campuses can use funds to provide direct mental health services to students. The third bill is SB 1359 by Senator Marty Block. This bill would require each California community college and CSU campus to use online course schedules to clearly highlight the courses that offer free digital materials and low-cost print versions. I now want to turn to CSU's budget advocacy efforts and have a short PowerPoint to go along with it. First, thank you to campus advocacy teams and our CSU internal stakeholder groups, particularly the California State Student Association, for the work they have done since the beginning of the year in advocating for additional dollars for the CSU. It was truly a collaborative effort. This year, we felt a renewed focus on our students and their stories would be key in making the case for additional investment. Many campuses posted student stories on social media, as you see on the left, and CSSA led a sign campaign to explain why people stand with CSU, promoting positive messages about the CSU, its students, and its impact on the state. The I Stand with CSU campaign led to legislative leaders like Assemblymember Olson and Speaker Anthony Rendon, both champions of the CSU, making their case why the CSU is important to them. As you can see on the right, Speaker Rendon was joined by a special guest where they both declared that they, quote, stand with CSU because we wouldn't be here without them, unquote. We held our mascot day on June 1st when mascots from 16 campuses braved the Sacramento heat to positively and passionately promote the CSU. And they literally brought the hashtag Stand with CSU message to the Capitol's doorsteps. We delivered our red frame glasses branded with our Stand with CSU hashtags, encouraging members to show their support by wearing them during floor session on June 2nd, which we declared as Focus on Students Day. Overall, we are very thankful for the broad support we received from the California State Student Association, campus advocacy teams, CSU alumni groups, and students on campus. More than 950 Twitter accounts use the Stand with CSU hashtag, and our social media analytics indicate that we surpassed 11 million views over a 2-month period. While the CSU unfortunately fell short of receiving its full trustees budget ask for this year, we are proud of the amount of individuals who participated in our events and social media activities, and we look forward to continuing to expand on these efforts in the future. Again, thank you to all of our students, staff, alumni, trustees, administrators, and friends who contributed to the Stand with CSU effort this year. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Nicole with regard to any of the items she has discussed or life in general? Trustee Kimbell.
I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Senator Steve Glazer's bill because I think we were opposed to the earlier draft, weren't we?
We've always had a support if amended position on the bill.
Okay. So if I remember, it was our problem with it was mostly the tuition freeze. Mm-hmm. So now that he's removed that, is it the amount, the 10 versus the 4, that's the real stickler there? And so what we're proposing back to him is just this sort of a pilot program of 4 campuses which he says we already basically have that at these other campuses. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit more.
Sure, yeah. So in the first version of the bill, it only mandated at 1 campus.
Oh, just 1. Okay.
Yes. And it is correct that we have the program at 4 campuses. It's also true that it has been discontinued at other campuses. So we have really thought through this issue, and we have proposed back a new idea, which is focused on associate degree for transfer programs. And the associate degree for transfer programs, that's also referred to as SB 1440 students. Right. And especially for our newer trustees, it's a lot of the work that we've been doing to ensure that students have seamless pathways from the community colleges to the CSU. And it's a program that we would like to see encouraged, and it would really help us with increasing our graduation rates of our transfer students. So we have asked that the bill be amended to really focus on this particular notion, and we've in fact asked that we would be willing to have that program at 15 campuses in the first year of implementation and 20 by the second year of implementation.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Chair Eisen.
I had a question about AB 2164, which is the tuition fee waiver for public safety officers. I'm not entirely sure what's included in the definition of public safety officer. I'm also under the impression that we have a number of situations where these kinds of waivers are in place because of some legislation at some point in time. And I don't need to know what all of them are now, but I would at some point in time like to have a sense of how many of these tuition fee waiver programs are in place and how many students are impacted by them, and is there a sunset on some of these clauses. But for now, I'm just curious what a public safety officer is.
Yeah, so this one would be for basically police officers and firefighters. And it's currently, they already received those waivers. System-wide, I think we have about 30 or 39 waivers given system-wide. So it's, frankly, it's one of the smaller waiver programs, state-mandated waiver programs. This bill would essentially do two things. One, it would allow waivers to also be given for the family members of police and fire who pass away as a result of a medical condition received in the line of duty. Mm-hmm. The second, it would also cover campus-based fees. And this is precedent setting, as none of the current state-mandated programs cover campus-based fees. So system-wide for this program, since right now there's about 30 or 39, it would cost us about $50,000 additionally to cover those fees.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Charleston.
Thank you for that report again, and thanks to the State Student Associations group for the outstanding effort you all did in reaching constituents and the public. I did want to add a couple of things that happened that aren't bills per se, but they were in the biggest bill of the year, which is the budget bill. $200 million was set aside for college readiness. My department will be putting out monies to all the jurisdictions in the state to deploy that. It will involve some of our traditional academic outreach programs like Puente, Mesa, Avid, and programs such as that. So we invite input from the CSU as we're developing the guidelines for distributing those dollars. $35 million was put forward in the budget to help alleviate the teacher shortage. And one of those bills and one of those pieces of the legislation is $10 million for grants for colleges that offer combined bachelor and teacher credential training programs. So we'll look at speeding up the pipeline of talented people going into teaching by having a 4-year program where you can graduate with your BS or BA degree and also a teaching credential. There's $20 million to establish a program to recruit and train classified employees who want to become teachers working at that level, and another $5 million for local education agencies to establish and operate a California center on teaching careers. So I thought you'd be interested in those items. And then the other big one, and there's a couple, but the big one on the ballot coming up, and I'd like us to maybe agenda having that on for more of an informational presentation, maybe for some action, is Proposition 55, $8 to $10 billion a year, enormous impacts to all of our goals and the K-12 goals and the community college goals if that does not pass. So that's an $8 to $10 billion a year Proposition 55, which is the extension of Prop 30. So I just wanted to commend that to us to look into it, perhaps agenda it as an information item or potentially as an action item for consideration. But all of our goals on college graduation rates and remedial work and better preparation for succeeding at our CSU campuses is at stake if we cannot get that measure continued. So I wanted to share that.
Just on back to Glazer's bill, I noticed that De Leon is on there. So are they co-sponsoring that bill?
Yes,
So that bodes well for that bill.
I would imagine so.
On your recollection on Steve's original bill that ended up failing, you'd mentioned that the CSU official position was support if amended.
Correct.
Was that the official position and communicated to Steve?
It was communicated to Steve. He asked us not to write any letters or to communicate that in committee, which we acquiesced to.
I mean, I guess my memory must be faulty. I don't remember a support as amended being a specific. I recall that you had sent a letter explaining what changes you and the staff would like, but I don't recall saying we support if amended and that was communicated in committee. Am I wrong?
It was not communicated in committee. He asked us not to speak at the committee, and we did not send a letter at his, as again, he asked that we not send a letter.
So the support is amended?
It was communicated to his office verbally.
But okay, that was the official position.
Correct.
Trustee Garcia.
Thank you. I just wanted to better understand, and I'm sorry if I've missed it, but it notes that there will be various incentives, including priority registration on the Glacier bill. Do we have a sense of what those incentives will be at this time, or is that still being discussed?
I think the idea is that that would be up to the campus to decide really beyond that. And from what I understand from the campus perspective, and anyone who has the programs here, priority registration is the big one. The other one would be a financial incentive potentially, and the bill does stipulate that we would come with our ideas on providing some sort of financial incentive. Mm-hmm.
Trustee Maggie White.
Thank you, Chair. I have a few things I'd like to add. First of all, Nicole, I just want to express our thanks again to you. You've done an amazing job representing us in Sacramento the past several months. We're so glad that we have you. Secondly, I'd like to really speak about the associate degree for transfer. I haven't heard a lot of excitement about it, and I really think that there should be. So I hold an associate degree for transfer from Modesto Junior College. I transferred seamlessly to Stanislaus State, and I am graduating in 2 years. So while that won't be every story, I think that having this program at 15 of our campuses and up to 20 potentially in the next year would be revolutionary in our 2- and 4-year graduation rates for transfer students. I think this is something we should be celebrating within this bill. And I think that it can do amazing things for our transfer students and really help them accomplish all of their goals within the CSU in a timely manner. So thank you for highlighting that.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Chair Norton, first I too would like to shout out Cole's work during this transition of permanent leadership in our Sacramento office. While we didn't fully earn the trustees' budget, we did better than the governor's budget, and that was a combination of Nicole and her team and Ryan Storm and his team. But also I think on the legislation that did get passed or did get altered or stopped because we thought it might be difficult. And transitions are tough on people and the people that they work with, and to have the degree of success that we did, I think we all owe Nicole a public shout out of thanks. And she'll stay with the enterprise, but perhaps in a less stressful role. So thank you, Nicole. Secondly, I wish to urge the board to be cautious. What happens over time, whether it's in legislation or decisions that create waivers or legislation that asks us to do something without resources to support that something. On one hand, all of those individual decisions make enormous sense at the moment. And who would not want to be in a position to support the idea that, for example, somebody whose family does something special for California and bad things happen, that we then waive tuition or waive a fee. So that's our sort of our DNA, to be empathetic and supportive and inclusive. We will get a report to the board on the total cost of the waivers that we are now mandated to do, that have in aggregate amounts to tens of millions of dollars in foregone revenue. And yet it costs us the same to offer academic programs and support to a student, whether or not they're paying a penny. And so it's this fundamental issue of decision making, where the pairwise decision makes sense, but in aggregate, we're going to be bankrupt. And I say that in an exaggerated way, but to make the point that when you see the amount of money that is foregone today for things that all made great sense in aggregate, it is a staggering amount of money. And we earlier talked today about the resources needed to meet our graduation initiatives and to meet California's future. And that's why we take very cautious staff advice to you on some of this legislation, where there's an interest and an empathy to do so, but we have the broader view as a board and a broader responsibility as a board to look at the long-term implications of our decisions, as well as what may feel good and right at the moment. And so I just ask us to think about that on some of these matters. Thank you, Chair Norton.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Nicole, I'd like to add my thanks for your work, not only today, but also stepping in over the course of these months to act as the interim director. You had big shoes to fill. If Karen's watching or listening, I'm using that phrase metaphorically. But on behalf of the committee and on behalf of the board, our thanks. Chair Eisen, that concludes the work of the Committee on Governmental Relations.
Thank you, Trustee Norton. So the next item on the agenda is the next committee, but for logistical reasons, we're not yet ready to assemble the Committee on Educational Policy. So we're going to change the order of things just a bit. We're going to move to the plenary session, have our call to order and our roll call. Then we will have the report of the Academic Senate and our brand new chair of the Academic Senate, and the report of the CSSA and our brand new president of the CSSA. And then hopefully we will have resolved our logistical issues and we'll go back to ed policy and continue forward from that point. It's a little confusing, but...
Articulate after ed policy will be public speakers.
Oh, yes. The Chancellor has reminded me to be sure that you're aware that public speakers, which we are just skipping over briefly, we will definitely come back to that. So anybody who's here as a public speaker, we will get to you in due course, probably about the same time you would have been speaking in the first place. So with that, we need to call to order and have the roll call for the Board of Trustees of the California State University's plenary session. Will the meeting of the Board of Trustees come to order? And Ms. Kiz, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Abrego, Governor Brown, Trustee Carney. Here. Trustee Day.
Present.
Trustee Eisen.
Here.
Trustee Fagan. Here. Trustee Farrar.
Here.
Trustee Furstenberg. Here. Trustee Garcia. Here. Trustee Kimbell. Here. Trustee Melendez de Santana. Here. Trustee Morales. Here. Lieutenant Governor Newsom. Trustee Nylon. Here. Trustee Norton. Here. Speaker Rendon. Trustee Simon. Here. Trustee Stepanek. Here. Trustee Taylor. Superintendent Torlakson. Here. Trustee White. Chancellor White.
Present.
Chair Eisen, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And now we will turn to the report of the Academic Senate, and Dr. Christine Miller, the new chair of the Academic Senate, will present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Eisen. In this, my first report to the board, I looked for a theme. If I were in my classroom, I probably would work in some sort of a reference to pop culture. This doesn't, though, seem like a Pokemon Go kind of crowd. So I turned instead to my discipline of communication studies, and I cut my academic teeth on Aristotle. And he said something that has stuck with me ever since the first time I read it. He said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." I'm exceedingly proud to represent the Academic Senate of the CSU, whose abiding focus is academic excellence. That's our habit. It goes beyond any specific act that we do. But our habit is to pass resolutions, and we repeatedly speak in the form of resolutions. That's who we are. That's how we roll. Our resolutions promote academic excellence, so it's our habit to express our well-considered point of view and hope that our habits of mind are accepted by Chancellor White and others in the spirit of shared governance. Unfortunately, we haven't heard a response to our most recent habitual communication. Our resolutions were offered 2 months ago and have not yet received a response. Former Chair Filling summarized them for you at your last meeting. Just briefly, they are the four that I think most interest to this group are evaluation of online teaching, more funding for research, scholarship, and creative activities, responses to a coded memorandum from the Chancellor's Office on C- grades, and a call for the Center for Advancement of Instruction in Mathematics. I look forward to hearing those reactions, and hopefully the late response doesn't become a habit. One thing I hope does become a habit is the true shared governance that characterized the efforts of the Quantitative Reasoning Task Force. That task force came about as a result of a resolution from the statewide Senate, and it's been chaired by Drs. Filling and Stevenson and drafted by members of the Academic Senate. They're on their 30th draft of that report, and it's been very capably staffed by the Chancellor's office. The meetings of that task force have concluded, and the outcome is that they have reached agreement on 4 recommendations: the need for an updated definition of quantitative reasoning, the need to revise quantitative reasoning requirements in the CSU, the need to adopt policies that advance quantitative reasoning skills from high school through the completion of the baccalaureate, kind of the math arc is the way that that's expressed often, and the need to create a CSU Center for Math Instruction, as the resolution that I mentioned before also recommended. The 2 chairs of the task force and I met last week with Executive Vice Chancellor Blanchard and several others regarding next steps for the Quantitative Reasoning Task Force's efforts. The final draft of that task force will be available in a couple of weeks, and the Senate will be discussing it in September, and the CSU Math Council will be discussing it in October. The overall purpose of the task force was to promote excellence in math education, and it may become a habit this year and future years to talk to you about what the task force has recommended. So coming attractions, you'll hear more in September from me on that. Speaking of task forces, the Ethnic Studies Task Force report was released last week, and I look forward to the conversations the report will inspire. I personally hope the conversations explore ways in which curricula and decision-making can prepare our students for a globalized world. As national, racial, and ethnic boundaries and borders become more permeable, as the boundaries between peoples become less fixed and more fluid, I hope the conversations resulting from this task force's work can transcend physical, virtual, and conceptual boundaries. Now more than ever, we have a moral obligation as stewards of public education to advance the public good, and ethnic studies programs and faculty are central to that obligation. As Chancellor White said in his letter accompanying the release of the task force report, the issues it addresses are central to how the CSU fulfills a portion of its mission, inasmuch as we are committed to preparing students for a global, multicultural society. To paraphrase then, ethnic studies is mission critical. Hopefully the task force report will advance that mission. 2 other things Chancellor White mentioned in his letter that accompanied that task force report also caught my attention. One is his reference to the academic conference that's related to inclusive excellence, and I'm pleased to tell you that we've been working on conference planning. February 9th and 10th is the dates of the conference. I hope you save those dates, presidents as well as board members. You're clearly invited, and I hope you'll be able to attend. We're working on getting speakers under contract and finalizing those details, but the theme of the conference will be closing the achievement gap, which comports well with inclusive excellence. And I think it hopefully will move us further toward our moonshot, as Chancellor White referenced in his State of the CSU address. The second thing Chancellor White mentioned in his letter with the Ethnic Studies Task Force report that caught my attention was his reference to speaking with the presidents about increasing tenure density and faculty diversity. November of last year, the Academic Senate spoke in the form of a resolution asking for a joint task force on tenure density. We're still waiting for that to happen. A month ago, I asked whether the group could be convened, and then I contacted the faculty and identified 2 dates that they were all available to meet in August, a little less than a month from now. The responses I've received have not been definitive, to say the least, and we need to move the needle on that important work. So we look forward to partnering with the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellors in true shared governance style. Let's make shared governance a habit. Chair Eisen, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. We're now going to move to the report of the CSSA, and we're doing extremely well on time, so take your time. Tell us as much as you want to tell us.
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Good afternoon. As always, CSSA is grateful for the opportunity to give a report and have a platform for the student voice at these Board of Trustee meetings. Before I begin my report, I would like to share with y'all a little bit about myself. For those of you who do not know, I am entering my second year as a public administration master's student at Cal State East Bay. And I'm proud to say that I am part of the class of 3 million. Just got my bachelor's degree from there a year ago, actually. Before my time with CSSA, I actually served as the ASI president at East Bay for the 15-16 school year. Prior to that, I was vice president of external affairs. I have been involved with student government since I transferred to East Bay in the fall of 2013, and I am honored to be sitting here representing all CSU students. Now that I have given you all a quick introduction about who I am, I will get back to my report. 2 months ago, the CSSA board awarded the Honorable Trustee Garcia and the Honorable Trustee Norton the Trustee of the Year Award. After coming back from today's lunch, I presented the Trustee of the Year Award to the Honorable Trustee Norton, who was not present at the last Board of Trustees meeting. So I just wanted to give you a quick shout out. CSSA's 2016-17 fiscal year has begun, and we have hit the ground rolling. Since the last Board of Trustees meeting, we have held 2 different plenary meetings. The first meeting was held June 10th to the 12th at CSU Monterey Bay, where the governing board was introduced to CSSA and were transitioned into their new roles as CSSA's governing board. This transition meeting was held at a month earlier due to the positive changes that were established within this organization over the past year. Another thing that was done during our June plenary meeting was that we elected our Vice President of Finance, Mia Kijanis, a student from Sacramento State. We also held special officer elections for the following positions: Advocacy Officer, Alumni Council Liaison, Academic Senate Liaison, Sustainability Officer, and Social Justice and Equity Council Speaker. Lastly, at this June meeting, we were very excited to introduce to the governing board our Executive Director, Dr. Rob Charette. Dr. Charette comes to us from one of our great allies in the fight for equitable higher education, the Campaign for College Opportunity. Following the plenary, 22 of our ASI presidents, the Honorable Trustee White, and CSSA's Vice President of Legislative Affairs Brown spent a week at the Panetta Institute, where they took a course on education for leadership and public service. More recently, we just wrapped up our July plenary meeting, which ended this past Sunday and was hosted in this room. During our 3-day weekend, we held elections for our internal committees and our vice chairs. All 23 campuses had an opportunity to bid for hosting one of our 16-17 plenary meetings, in which we finalized our meeting calendar for the remaining of the year. The governing board also had an opportunity to interact with CSSA alumni, vice chancellors, and members of the statewide academic senate during our lunch and our panels. Throughout the weekend, the governing board continued their transition into their roles as the CSSA governing board and were able to break out into working sessions to discuss our 16-17 policy agenda. We hope to approve and finalize our policy agenda by our September plenary meeting, in which we will begin implementing our goals and priorities for the 2016-17 fiscal year. Some of the priorities that have clearly been most important to the students and their ability to prosper on our campuses are seen throughout this policy agenda. For example, the topic of shared governance, food and housing insecurity, advocacy expansion, and accessibility are key issues that we hope to speak about and address throughout the fiscal year. The one issue that I will discuss in detail is the topic of shared governance. Shared governance is not a simple phrase that can be defined by the dictionary. Instead, we, the Board of Trustees, the Office of the Chancellor, the President's Council, the California State Student Association, and every other stakeholder of the CSU system must come together as an institutional community to not only define the phrase shared governance, but to lead public higher education in this nation as the organization who not only defines the word shared governance, but actually lives and breathes it. We must be willing to have conversations with one another on a daily basis and not wait for our reports that we give every other month. We must create opportunities that allow for students at large to interact with everyone in this room. We must be committed to doing our best and to ensure that our CSU students are California and that we are the largest public higher education system that other public higher education systems look up to. With that being said, thank you, Chair Eisen. This concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We are now going to have a break, about 15 minutes. We'll come back around 2:15, and hopefully we can pick up our agenda right where we skipped over, left off. Thank you very much. 2:15.
live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly.